we must begin to pay more attention to the welfare of the people. We must connect to the grassroots. Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are complaining. Therefore, now that we have achieved stability, we must move into growth. We must go into growth mode. And that's already happening with inflation, somehow coming down. Though people say they are not feeling it yet. Yeah. But what we are saying is that employment must happen.
Welcome to the Economy and Politics Conversation. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. This edition, we'll be looking at Nigeria and the pathway to economic sustainability. My guest is Mr. Kola Ogunleye, a development economist and independent management consultant. Great to have you, Mr. Kola Ogunleye.
Thank you very much, Otto.
Great to have you back. And you came back with a very interesting op-ed article published on ProShare. Nigeria at 65, pathway to national development and economic sustainability. Very incisive write-up, which of course has brought up a lot of conversations. But let's begin based on your review in that paper. How do you assess institutional and governance reforms in the country at this time?
Yeah, thank you very much. At the moment, the kind of reforms that we need that we can call institutional and governance reforms, they are just about now taking place because we were dealing with a very serious, economic crisis, that is called by many economists, macroeconomic instability, which the government has decided to tackle headlong. And as a result of that, the bulk of the activities in the last 2.5 years or so has been on economic reforms. I would say that the governance reforms that will be needed to follow on these economic reforms are not yet in place as such. But that has been recognized as a key pillar in terms of developing the country, in terms of achieving economic sustainability. We will need to do quite a lot of reforms in our government processes, improve on our institutions' efficiency, effectiveness, and viability. And then, of course, if we have these economic reforms in place and we can back them up with these governance reforms, of course, you will agree with me that some measure of reforms have happened, especially when you look at the distribution of the ministries right now, especially in my own area, which is, the economy. You have a coordinating minister of economy, we have a ministry of budget, we have the budget office, we have the debt management office. These are all institutions that are working effectively to ensure that we have a functioning, macroeconomically stable economy. But you will agree that in terms of what we need to do in terms of governance reforms, we have not really gotten there.
Not really gotten there, and we need to really get there.
Yeah, we really need to get there. But I think what has happened is that because of the level of, the depth and breadth of the economic crisis, the new government, the Asiwaju administration, has decided to focus more on returning the economy to the path of stability and subsequently growth. And then we can have development.
Now, when I read the op-ed, very incisive one, I was thrilled that you reviewed 8 development plans, from the first National Development Plan to the current Renewed Hope Agenda Plan. Very, very, very interesting and expository. But you highlighted the need for us to pair solid macroeconomic policies with inclusive governance and policies that have impact on households. Now, I want to ask you, because we've always had this challenge of economic ideology. where are we currently in terms of an economic growth that kickstarts or pushes us to real double-digit growth and inclusive growth? Since 1960, we've been on this part of trying to find it. So what is that best ideological approach that we need at this time?
If you look at the platform on which Asiwaju contested election, that's the current administration, there is this talk of renewed hope agenda on the platform of the progressives. In Nigeria, there is no, strict ideological demarcation between the major parties. But what I can say is that what we are trying to do right now, which is the reforms that are taking place to ensure their stability, and then we can grow. And then we are also already talking of what I call addressing the question of the micro economy, households, as it were. How can they benefit from this growth, from this stability? But a lot of economists believe that until you grow, you cannot begin to talk about inclusive growth. So what we have now is that we are now talking about 4.2%, okay? But we need to pay, we are trying to pay more attention to the whole issue of the welfare of the people. So what I would say is that if I want to go straight to an answer to your question, is to say that I will not talk about ideology without the platform. That is the Progressive Party, which is normally known to be leftist in orientation. But in terms of the economy has to be tackled directly in a manner that suggests that, look, you understand the dynamics of the global economy and you can also relate to that, and that is why most of our economic, people call it Washington consensus economic policies, which suggests maybe an ultra-capitalist orientation. Or I've read a lot of commentators say that Asiwaju is on a free market economy trajectory. But what I know is that if you look at how this administration come about and what the Progressive Party is all about, you will know that they will not be able to do much without paying attention to all this issue of poverty, hunger. I understand, I read this morning, just on my way here, that the hunger index for Nigeria has gone further down, and what we are saying, that's published by Business Day. And then I'm saying that, okay, if that's the case, what should we be doing now? So ideologically, I would say that we are tending towards a mixed economy, and then we have welfare policies that are going to be pushed in now because we are basically an underdeveloped economy. We are not even a developing economy when you look at our GDP per capita and you look at the number of people living in this country in poverty. At least the statistics office in this country has admitted one figure that nobody has disputed for a long time now. 133 million people are multidimensionally poor. So if we are looking at those kind of statistics and we are in a country that we just have to ensure that there's macroeconomic stability, because without stability we cannot grow. But that ensuring that macroeconomic stability suggests to some people that maybe this is a capitalist government. But I say no to that, because the commanding heights of the economy are still in the hands of the government. Basically, they have lion shares in the oil sector, which controls about maybe 80 to 90% of our revenue. And so I would say that we are a welfare state that has been compelled to do some kind of free market economic management. That's my best way of describing the situation now. But we have a loan scheme now, a national loan scheme, so that people will not say because they don't have money, they can't go to the university, or higher institutions. So we are moving there. We are talking about Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, social intervention programs are going on. and so on and so forth. I think that we will move to the point that we can enact a legislation that will be called the social security legislation, that we can say that, okay, the elderly, the aged, they can be, and we now have our identity system that is being properly managed now. You have NIN, you have everything is linked now. So if you want to do anything now, NIN is your number one identification number. So everybody has it. And so we can, because we have this data issue, to be able to do welfareism very well, you need a lot of information about your citizens, appropriate data. And then we're also looking at doing our census again. So by the time we do all of this, our real position, by the nature of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chapter 2, is to be a welfare state. If you go and list at the items under Chapter 2, it calls for a social democratic state, that plans its way. There must be plans, nobody should be pushed to the marginal side, and the gap between the rich and the poor should not be much. These are explicit provisions of the 1999 Constitution, and it has not been amended out.
So
by design, the country is supposed to run a welfare state, not a socialist state, but a well-running liberal economy in the private sector that is supported by a public sector that is alive to its responsibilities for the welfare of the people, especially the marginalized and the vulnerable.
Very interesting. So social democratic state, welfarist, but not socialist state, that can now drive a vibrant private sector supported by policy and a vibrant public sector. Very interesting. Very interesting direction you're giving to ideology. I believe policy experts and various stakeholders will be reacting to this. But let's look at the legislature. Very critical to our democracy and, of course, driving a robust economy. We've seen various reforms around the tax and fiscal. We've seen reforms around insurance, the capital market. Various decisions have been signed into law by the president, which is quite commendable. But one area is the need for strong fiscal oversight, especially when it comes to annual budget and borrowing plans, which is something that is required. Looking at the whole situation, are we not at that point for a political economy where we need to have a congressional budget office? I know you interact with National Assembly people.
Yes. Well, Otto, let me be frank with you. I have been an advocate of a congressional budget office, I think way back since 2014, 2015, when we used to have our regular conversation here. And I have not stopped that. We need that body, to support the National Assembly. In the US, which we try to copy the political constitution and all of that, we have this Congressional Budget Office playing a very dominant role in budget management, and it is an independent body. It will gather data, it will analyze data, it will carry out projections, 10-year projections that are regularly updated. And that helps the National Assembly a lot. It enhances its independence and autonomy, and it strengthens its capacity, to do what it has to do. So I am a supporter of a Congressional Budget Office. In actual fact, I know that there was an attempt in the past to do a National Assembly Budget Office, but it is not robust enough. I think that the planning and the Planning and Economic Development Committee is trying to take another look at the issue of Congressional Budget Office. But beyond that, is to say that, because we are in a crisis period, the legislature has been a little bit more supportive of the executive than being confrontational. And this should be understood by Nigerians, that it's better for us to rapidly move through this period of economic emergency, even when it is not put that way. And then most of the issues about budgeting and all that has to do with, managing a very delicate a process whereby revenues are not coming in, infrastructure need to be put in place, and at the same time, you have to curtail inflation, and there is the whole issue of fiscal dominance in the economy, that the fiscal side is actually dominating the monetary side, and they should really handshake. Actually, without mincing words, what the National Assembly has been able to achieve is to support the president in every way they can, because I think they understand the challenge that is being faced right now.
Yeah, I agree. But the checks and balances are very important to ensure that it works.
Don't also
when
forget.
You see that for example, our latest domestic debt released by the government was 6.6 trillion naira.
Yeah.
And even we used $1.4 billion to service our debt
but
for
if
first quarter.
don't let us miss certain things here. If you look at our debt profile and how it's been moving, I think we've been doing well. Yeah, I think the metrics have been favorable in the last couple of quarters, because these debts are being translated into naira. It also shows that maybe they are very heavy. For example, when somebody is owing $2 billion and the exchange rate is 500 naira official, that should be maybe 1 trillion naira. But when now the exchange rate is 1,500, it will translate to 3 trillion naira. So we have that challenge. For most of the debts are denominated, about 40% or so of the debt are dollar denominated. And then when you now look at the way we are servicing it, the tax reforms have introduced a lot of dimension. Like we are now making more revenue. The IGR is now higher. Once your IGR is higher, you are better able to service your debts. But my own opinion is that the government should now look into some other ways of financing its infrastructure, and that is we have been talking of these investments,
capital,
financializing
our assets.
Yes, and that's one of the things that the monetary policy is doing. But not quite a lot of that has been coming in. Hot money has been coming in. Money chasing interest rates, hungry for interest rates that is high. Because we have one of the highest interest rates in the world. Our NPR is still 27%. And when you look at the real interest rate for the domestic economy, it's not smiling because of the inflation. But if you are here just to trade, you are good to go. And that also enhances our foreign exchange market. But it does not generate the kind of foreign direct investment that we need to build an economy. And that's where we're saying that, look, why can't we do investments now? We should attract funds that are targeted at investments here. And that will mean that some of our capital, some of our, dead capital, that can be, put alive, to attract investment. So we need to draw up what I call an investment pipeline. That we can
asset register.
Yeah, so even beyond asset register now, let me say it. Why can't we have a situation where finance will say, I have identified the following areas: telecoms, roads, rails, all those areas that places like India and China have been able to attract investment to go into, and I can pay back the money. So those are the kind of things we need to do, and we should reduce the appetite for loans.
I think with what you've said, the Bureau of Public Enterprise and the Ministry of Finance Incorporated will have to rejig based on what they are planning.
Correct.
Monitoring what they are doing around the listing of state assets and all that, very important. Now, Mr. Kola Ogunleye, human capital development is very critical for Nigeria's growth. And we've seen what has happened. The experiment in the Southwest when we had the Chief Obafemi Awolowo investing in education and healthcare and all those. Today, we have a challenge. Crisis of confidence in education. Healthcare has really lost its confidence to the fact that we see negligence and a pressured workforce in terms of delivery. And research and development is not getting that budget and investment that it needs. What is, in 1 minute, can you give us a good example of countries that have been able to navigate this that Nigeria can learn from, so we can really move
I
from
think,
theory to practice?
I think one of the things that we need to look at is the way the Scandinavian countries have done it in terms of concentrating on education and health. A large chunk of their budget is put in that direction because that's the future of the country. Because we are looking at real relevant education now. TVET, technology, STEM, and all of that, science and technology. We should put more money into our education sector. And not only just money there, we should attract the best brains into the Nigerian education sector in science and technology. And most of the people there are leaving. So we need to attract more. We need to put policies in place. Because if you look at the Scandinavian countries that I referred to, that's what they do most. Concentrate on human capital. And then China is said to be one of the fastest growing economies that have done so well within a short time. When I studied their history, you know what is behind it? Education, education, education. So you find a situation whereby those countries that are developed, because if we start citing example of USA, Britain, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But when you look at countries look at the development trajectory of Nigeria and our development plan, it's only in the southwest and maybe southeast that we have had serious devotion to education. And in a situation where 70%, or let me say 60% of the population are not properly educated, then we are looking at, if we say we are 200 million, look at that number. And that same number constitutes the most multidimensionally poor. So we need to concentrate on education and the right quality of education.
Skill-based education.
Yes.
Now, as you wrap up, Mr. Kola Ogunleye, subnationals, regional development commissions are critical to our country's sustainable economic development. What role should they be playing now? Because we talk a lot about national, but subnationals are very critical. You're from Ogun State. Ogun State is a very strategic state that can really power industrialization in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to do as we go into the second stream in our midterm national development plan is to make sure that the states too, maybe through the regional commissions in the different regions, are part of the process. Because we have a country that is supposed to be federal in orientation. Therefore, there's a national development plan that we are looking at now, Agenda 2050, that has been broken down into like 5 or 6 stages. So we are almost done with 21 to 25. Now we are looking at 26 to 2030. What are the states doing? So they should have also parallel development plans, that we can say, okay, in Ogun State, Oyo State, Lagos State, they also have their own development plan. And that is keying into the national development plan. They should handshake. In a federal system of government, you cannot have a unitary national plan. You are supposed to have a federally developed national plan. Oh, fine. We have the National Assembly passing budgets there. The states also pass their budget. But now with this commission that have been set up, these regional development commissions, they should partner with the states in their region to put a medium-term national development plan that will be parallel to what the federal government is doing, and that will handshake. In any case, I also expect exchange of data and information between the two sides, so that these plans that we make will not be Abuja-based plans. They will be plans for the whole country, because already the regions are also participating. And that may begin to take us to where we need to be in terms of a restructured country with viable regions that can hold their own anytime.
You sound like an apostle of restructuring. Thank you very much, Mr. Kola Ogunleye. Very interesting conversation
Thank you.
on Nigeria and the pathway to economic sustainability. You're very clear that we are a socially democratic state.
Yes.
Welfarist in nature.
Yes.
But we need to have a vibrant private sector
Yes.
supported by a robust public sector.
And we need
policies.
to get our macroeconomy right. And I would
Aligned
like
with
to
inclusive
put it,
governance.
yes, that you can say anything about this government, but they have been resolute, they've been courageous, they've been focused in terms of reining in the economy. Okay, the macroeconomic stability. Having achieved that now, we must begin to pay more attention to the welfare of the people. We must connect to the grassroots. Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are complaining. Therefore, now that we have achieved stability, we must move into growth. We must go into growth mode. And that's already happening with inflation, somehow coming down. Though people say they are not feeling it yet. Yeah. But what we are saying is that employment must happen. Entrepreneurship must be encouraged. Where are the funds for that going to come from? That is the next level of activity. Yeah. The agenda for this government has been properly set now. Now that we all agree the bleeding has been stopped, and that what we need to do now is to allow it to heal, and then it will begin to do what? To grow again. So we some of us believe that the macroeconomic stability situation was really bad when Asiwaju came in, and what he has been able to do is to work on that. So I hope that those of us who survive this period will live to enjoy the benefits of growth, inclusive growth. That's also what they are talking about in the IMF.
Very important.
Thank you.
Balance macroeconomic policies with inclusive
growth, and then we need welfare policies to cope with our large number of very poor people.
Yeah. Thank you once again, Mr. Kola Ogunleye, development economist, independent management consultant, for this very interesting discourse on Nigeria and the pathway to economic sustainability. We hope to have you sometime again in the year to review the policies and where we are headed as an economy. Thank you once again for the time.
Thank you. I'll be willing to come again and again.
Yes, and we'll look forward to more of your op-eds.
More. Another one is coming soon.
This last one.
Yes, another one is coming soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. To our viewers, that will be all for this conversation on Nigeria and the pathway to economic sustainability. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can follow our website displayed on the screen and our social media platforms to get further insight on this conversation. To come your way again, I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.